According to a report in the Australian, orders for China's self-produced large passenger aircraft C919 have exceeded 1,200. The most eye-catching thing is that the U.S. company GE Capital Aviation Services has ordered 20 C919s with a total value of $2.2 billion. The news caused a huge reaction in the aviation community. After all, as an emerging aircraft in China, the C919 is still a rookie, and the United States has aviation manufacturing giants like Boeing. There seems to be no obvious reason for GE Aviation to choose aircraft made in China. So, in today's video, we dive into why GE Aviation chose the C919 over Boeing or Airbus. As a new competitor, will the C919 have a huge impact on the global aviation market in the future? If you like our video content, please click to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can receive all our latest video content. Now, let's get into today's topic. Over the past 100 years, Boeing and Airbus, the two major aircraft manufacturing giants, have always occupied a dominant position in the international civil aircraft market. However, with China's breakthroughs in the field of aviation manufacturing, China's independently developed C919 passenger aircraft has gradually become a strong competitor in the international civil aircraft market. However, it is worth mentioning that during the early development stage of the C919, many international experts questioned whether China could successfully build such a large civilian aircraft. They believe that even many developed countries are unable to independently develop and manufacture large aircraft entirely relying on their own industrial strength. Even if China were able to build such a plane, its performance is unlikely to match those of Boeing or Airbus. At the time, the C919 had not yet received a globally recognized airworthiness certificate, so many believed it was unlikely to attract international buyers. But as time went by, China's efforts in this area finally paid off. In May 2017, the C919 successfully achieved its historic first test flight and subsequently obtained the latest International Airworthiness Standard certification. This achievement prompted airlines and aircraft leasing companies in many countries to place orders for the C919. For example, Brunei, Thailand, Germany, and other countries have submitted orders for C919 aircraft. So far, China has received orders from 36 airlines, and the total number of orders for C919 aircraft has exceeded 1,200. Among them, the most eye-catching order is from American aviation leasing giant GE Capital Aviation Services. It is understood that GE Capital Aviation Services is one of the world's leading aviation leasing and financing companies. The company focuses on the leasing, financing, management, and consulting services of commercial aircraft and related assets. As a leader in the global aviation leasing industry, GECAS has a customer network all over the world, including many airlines and other aviation business operators. However, in May last year, the Australian published a striking report. The report mentioned that GECAS, headquartered in the United States, ordered 20 Chinese-made C919 passenger aircraft at a price of $2.2 billion. This is the first time that there is evidence that a U.S. company has purchased Chinese passenger aircraft. This move has aroused widespread attention and discussion in the industry. Although this order may seem unbelievable to many, it is indeed a fact that cannot be ignored. So, what is the reason why GE Aviation purchases Chinese aircraft? In fact, the cost-effectiveness of C919 is also one of the reasons why General Electric Company chose it. As the global economic situation changes, especially in the context of increasing downward pressure on the economy, GE needs to adopt more flexible and cost-effective operating strategies. Especially in asset-heavy industries such as aviation and aircraft leasing, the acquisition and operating costs of aircraft are one of the most important expenses for an enterprise. Therefore, in an effort to reduce costs and improve operational efficiency, GE decided to introduce lower-priced, high-performance aircraft into its aircraft portfolio. Looking at price factors, the Boeing 737 MAX 8 is priced at approximately $121.6 million, while the Airbus A320neo is priced at approximately $110.6 million. In comparison, China's C919 aircraft sells for about $99 million, which is nearly 20% cheaper than Boeing and Airbus aircraft. Although the price has been reduced, the C919 still has performance and quality comparable to aircraft from Boeing and Airbus. This not only helps reduce direct acquisition costs, but also saves fuel and maintenance costs in long-term operations, thereby improving overall profitability. In addition, domestic aircraft manufacturing companies in the United States have been caught in the storm of accident public opinion. After multiple accidents involving Boeing 737 MAX aircraft, many countries around the world announced a ban on the operation of this type of aircraft, resulting in a gradual decline in the market competitiveness of Boeing aircraft. At the same time, with the successful test flight of China's C919 aircraft, people gradually recognized the safety of Chinese-made aircraft. Therefore, General Electric decided to purchase C919 aircraft from China as a reserve of its assets. On the other hand, due to the rapid growth of aviation business in recent years. However, the production of aircraft is more difficult than that of cars, so the production cycle of manufacturing an aircraft is longer. In this case, even if Boeing and Airbus fully build aircraft, the number of aircraft delivered each quarter will be quite limited. In order to cope with the fact that the supply of aircraft obviously cannot keep up with the growth rate of aviation business, General Electric Company purchased Chinese C919 aircraft to meet the increase in its business volume. In fact, China's C919 large passenger aircraft project adopted a Sino-foreign cooperation model and achieved a major breakthrough in aircraft manufacturing through collaboration with international suppliers such as the United States. In this context of cooperation, American companies, as one of the main suppliers of turbine engines for the C919 passenger aircraft, will naturally gain corresponding benefits from the development of the large passenger aircraft industry. In particular, General Electric's order for the C919 not only reflects its recognition and affirmation of the Chinese aviation industry, but also reflects the reality that American companies have benefited from it. So, as a new competitor, will the C919 have a huge impact on the global aviation market in the future? With the continuous delivery of C919 aircraft orders, this aircraft has begun to challenge the half-century monopoly of Boeing and Airbus in the field of large commercial aircraft. Although the C919 performs well in terms of market competitiveness, its market share is still small when facing Boeing and Airbus, which have long dominated the civil aviation market. However, it is foreseeable that in future market competition, the C919 is expected to gradually erode the market share currently occupied by Boeing and Airbus, thereby rewriting the competitive landscape of the global aviation industry.